Welcome to HVAC Full Blast, where industry insight leads to real results. Join Mary Carter and Stephen Ross, along with industry expert Lorne Sederoff from SearchKings, as they share real stories on navigating shifts in search engine marketing and making your business stand out. Let's get started.
Welcome back to HVAC Full Blast. I'm Mary Carter, along with Stephen Ross. And Stephen, you're making me kind of jealous here because I feel like you've brought on some friends from the industry, and we actually have another guest today.
We do have another guest today. It's okay, Mary. It just means I'm old, so I've been around longer. Like
I
that's
feel like
just what it means.
you have more friends than me, so I'm going to try to step it up and bring on some of my friends. But tell us about how you know our guest.
Well, Lorne is somebody that I pay to be friends with me, so that's a little different. But it's good. We've known each other for a few years. And Lorne, we'll let you introduce yourself too. But I just wanted to give a little background. I owned a heating and air company for several years. And, if you go back, because when I first got into heating and air, it was you just had to have a website. And then you had to have content on your website that the search engine could find. And so the first few years that I was in heating and air, it was all about SEO, SEO, SEO. And so the company I worked for wanted me to write a blog on a regular basis. And then I think the industry kind of moved past where SEO wasn't nearly as important anymore. And then it was kind of search engine marketing became prevalent. And then you started getting into the Google local search. And so along the way, somehow I got introduced to Lorne and SearchKings because I couldn't keep up with just I could barely keep up with the changes in heating and air, much less the changes in online advertising. So that was how I first got introduced to SearchKings. And so I'm excited to have you on today, Lorne, because we're going to kind of push the edge a little bit and go not just what's happened the last few years, but I'm going to ask you like pull out your crystal ball and try to look in the future a year or two and go, well, where are we going to be 2 years from now? What's that going to look like? So, Lorne, why don't you, now that I've kind of introduced you, that's how I know you. I will put in a little pitch in. Sold my heating and air company last year, and my partner Tim and I, that we owned the heating and air company together, we started a pest control company because that got us out of our non-compete. We could still start a company. And literally the first thing we did was sign up with SearchKings for all the same stuff that we had done for our heating and air company. So it's worked that well for us that it was literally the first thing we did with heating with pest control. So there you go. There's my intro of Lorne. Lorne, why don't you introduce yourself? How did you get into this? How did you guys kind of create this business and
Absolutely.
jump in with both feet?
Well, Mary, thank you for having me, and Stephen, absolutely good to talk to you. But so here's our background. So SearchKings started 15 years ago. The focus has always been what kind of marketing could we do for our customers that we could actually prove was working or not working. And when we were initially exploring what other companies were doing and with SEO and blog posts, to your point, Stephen, we quickly learned that Google had no incentive to rank your company, Stephen, because you had a fresh blog post. And the idea that, this is 2015, 2017, the idea that you would be the expert in heating and air in your city would then yield you top of page placement was really a misconception. And when we started to focus on HVAC and plumbing and pest control and other home services, what we started to educate our customers about was those are nice to haves, that you're an industry expert or that you sponsored the barbecue, and those are great and they help build trust in your community, but follow the money. And once Google became a public company, everything that Google was doing was about monetization. So either you, as a digital marketing company, hope to beat Google by outsmarting their machine, or you play by Google's rules, but you find an advantage within the rules. That's kind of the fork in the road. We went down the road of we have to play by Google's rules, follow the money. They're a public company. They are incentivized by profit. So if they're going to make money, how do we make sure that our customers making money as well? And that's where search engine marketing lies, because you know how much you spent on a given day or a given month, and then you're able to see how many customers you added because of that spend. By using tracking and attribution, you can identify that the customer saw your ad, they clicked on your ad, they called you, the call gets recorded. We understand if the call was booked. Now we can take a look at the end of the month, what was your revenue from that customer? And then Stephen, you're in the glorious field of recurring revenue of pest control now, or a maintenance contract with HVAC. You have a lifetime value of that customer, and you have the initial invoice from the customer. And because we could follow the money, we were pretty confident that we would then be able to create a product that the customer shouldn't just pay us every month or pay Google every month and not know if it's working or not. That's not a business model, right? But when they look under the hood, they realize forget it and they cancel. That's not a business model. The business model is we earn the money that we're paid, so that by proving to the customer that they're making money off of their investment. You can't do that with SEO the same way you can with what we're talking about with is called SEM, which is search engine marketing, which is a nice way of saying paid advertising. And we entered that, became a Google Premier Partner. Back in 2018, Google introduced the Google Guarantee Program. We were quick to move to adopt that program and introduce it to train and American Standard customers, because it was a pay-per-call program. So the industry was opening up an opportunity that was better for the customer, frankly, better for the dealer. And so we wanted to, regardless of how much management we were going to have to do, which was less with Google Local Service Ads, frankly, we wanted to make sure we became experts in that, right? Yep. So as the technology changes, we needed to change. And our company looks very different now than it did in 2017 or 2018, because Google doesn't stop changing, Microsoft doesn't stop changing, ChatGPT now doesn't stop changing. So which companies are agile enough becomes really, really important in this age.
So let's jump right into that, because I think, I'm a novice cook, so I'm trying to get better at cooking. I've taken some cooking classes. So if I get online and I Google like, hey, I want a recipe for whatever it is, pork tenderloin, I'm going to have a whole bunch of ads. Well, if I click something on Google, it's going to be a 45-page article with lots of ads in there that I got to scroll through. And so I think a lot of people have just said, oh my gosh, that's a waste of time. And now what we do is we say, hey, ChatGPT, I've got friends coming over in 2 hours. I need to cook this pork tenderloin. What do I do? And it just gives you step-by-step instructions, no ads, no weird links, nothing to click on to get a virus, right? So it seems like all of a sudden overnight, all the Google dominance over search, and they, as a search engine, maybe Google absolutely still dominant, but as a consumer or a buyer, like if I were to say, hey, I need a new heating and air system, I might now go to ChatGPT instead of Google. So where do we go? What are you telling? Well, use your crystal ball, but like, where do we go from here, or what's coming next?
Yeah, great question.
So here's what we know. We know that ChatGPT emerged in November 2022. We know that over the last couple of years, there's an absolute arms race between OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, primarily. And every one of them are sprinting to be the best AI solution. So here we are in the fall of 2025. Where are we at? We're at a point where the machine is giving an answer that is attempting to be assertive. It doesn't question itself. It provides it as though it is certain. So let's go to the pork tenderloin for a minute, and then let's go to heating and air. The pork tenderloin recipe will be produced for you as though it is the #1 best recipe possible, and you should follow it because your prompt asked, or your question said, give me a pork tenderloin answer. Behind this curtain, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft are paying for that data to be pulled, okay? And so when you ask a question, those machines, which are for-profit companies, are going to produce the easiest result they can without working too hard and having to scrape websites for 10 minutes to produce for you the 10 out of 10 recipe, the 7 out of 10 recipe. They didn't even ask you what ingredients you have or what experience you have or what appliances you have. So they're giving you, it's funny, they give you what appears to be certainty, but really it's fairly surface level. So now users are getting familiar with that and they're asking the AI to dig deeper, okay, or try harder. What you're actually doing is telling the platform, go spend more money, give me a better result, a more authentic result, a more unique result. And most people aren't going that extra step. They're saying, okay, I need to cook a pork tenderloin. You know, what should I do? And you just follow those steps, and you have the basics. You have the garlic, and you have the paprika, and you have whatever, right? You have the peppers. But if you had in extra ingredients that might help, you might tell the machine, it might give you a better response. So the AI is actually surface level unless you push it and demand more from it, which is where the paid AI comes in. Okay, when you use ChatGPT Teams, personally, if you're using a paid, you can get better results with deeper results and more sources. So that's the pork tenderloin. Let's go over to heating and air, and let's talk about it, I guess, from the homeowner's point of view. If they go to ChatGPT, to your question, and they say furnace not working, okay, the response is going to be surface level. If they say train XR15 not working, the sound is this, the results will be a little bit better. What we are seeing, though, is once you ask ChatGPT for a service, meaning you need a professional, ChatGPT now has to go find which HVAC companies they should recommend. Okay. So the question becomes, what is ChatGPT pulling from? What is their source to give to the homeowner? And I encourage anyone that's listening to do those searches in your market all the time. But if you just did a surface level search, an AC repair company near me on ChatGPT, have you done that, Stephen? Have you seen what the results might look like, or Mary?
I'm doing it right now. I need an AC repair company near me. All right, let's see what happens. And I do have full disclosure. I've got the paid version of ChatGPT 5. So that's what I'm using. And I've got friends that are like, no, I'm Gronk all the way or whatever, but so it's pulling up a map. And let's see. So the first one is, yeah. All right. So it's similar to maybe what you would find from Google. I've now got a map and I've got a list of 5 or 6 heating and air contractors here locally.
So what we have there then is surface level information. You have your pork loin recipe, you have the companies near you. The question becomes how relevant or accurate is that information, and what are they ranking best on? Because they're not taking Google's best unless it is asked specifically and unless you ask specific questions. So if you said, what are the highest rated HVAC companies in Charlottetown, okay, then ChatGPT has to go work harder and go look at Google. It doesn't want to do that. So it wants to use the Microsoft search engine. And if you look at those companies, Stephen, that are on the map, what I want you to take a look for is what's the source of the information? Because usually there's a link, or you can ask ChatGPT, or where are they pulling their reviews from? Do they have 7 reviews from Yelp? Are these old school Yellow Pages or BBB reviews? Like, if we trust the AI to give us what we, in quotes, call the best, with Google, you have the Google reviews of actual hundreds of people who've given the company a thumbs up. And Stephen, for your business, a day doesn't go by that if you're talking to SearchKings that we're not telling you got to make sure your reviews are up and frequent, because that is a huge ranking factor, both with the machine and with the decision maker.
Yeah. when I do it right now, here's what it says. Reviews come from Yelp, Google reviews, and then this surprised me, local Reddit posts. How about that?
So yeah, in that moment, the search, again, you're unpaid, so you're going to get a better search result, but the search results are changing constantly on ChatGPT because they're trying to figure out how to monetize this and spend as little money as possible on each query. Whereas once there are ads, because there aren't ads right now, and we know the ads will come, but without ads, they have to keep their costs down. Whereas Google can show ads for the companies that are the most qualified because there's ads covering that search, right? The ads are helping create a more genuine search result. So ChatGPT, and believe me, I have one of my 3 screens open to ChatGPT all day. I use ChatGPT. We'll talk about how we use it as well, or how we see heating and air companies using it besides marketing we could talk about. But questioning the results and asking the machine to vet itself and qualify its responses is really what we see as important, and a lot of people are just taking it at face value. I'll give you one mini story of that. We are packing up my son for university, and in this age of overbearing parents, it's somehow my job to drive behind him in a separate car up to his school and pack the vehicle as high as possible with random items that perhaps he doesn't even need. You don't need 4 lamps. So my wife is saying to me that we need to pack all these different things into the car. And so she wants to buy a bed because you can't buy a used bed up in the university town. That would be unacceptable. Okay, fine. So I say, please go to ChatGPT and determine if our car, the RDX, okay, the Acura RDX, can fit that box, period. You have the dimensions of the box. You have the serial number. You know where you bought the box because Amazon delivered it to our house because we couldn't risk that it was late showing up at my son's dorm or home off campus. So, and what does ChatGPT say? I watched her do it in 17 seconds. Great idea. That box will definitely fit in your RDX. And what a nice idea it is for your son to have a bed ready for him when he gets there. Okay. My wife feels like $1 million. The next day I go to take that box and put it in the exact same RDX we talked about. And what do you think happens? And this is yet yesterday's example of ChatGPT will hallucinate and complement the question and not necessarily dig deep enough to determine, are you sure? Did you look up the RDX dimensions for the 2022 RDX? And are you sure the box is this? So you have to be thorough. And the myth of ChatGPT is it's fast and accurate. It's fast, not always accurate.
So, all right, let's come up with a real life scenario. And let's say Mary owns a heating and air company. Mary does $6 million in revenue. $2.5 million of that is residential, light commercial service work, maintenance agreements. $3.5 million of that is install, add-on replacement, very little new construction. I'm the territory manager. And here's what happens a lot. A lot of times we just go, well, what did we do last year? How'd that work? Great. We're going to do the same thing next year. So let's say we're having a conversation. It's, fall of 2025. What should we be talking about? I mean, what do we need to tweak, or what do we need to change? Or what do we just need to wholesale revamp to go, well, hey, that worked for 2023 and 2024. 2025, it worked okay. It's not going to work in 2026. You need a new marketing strategy. So, Lorne, what's that conversation? Mary, what do you think? If Mary and I are winging it, what are we thinking? We got no idea. What do you
And
think?
let me throw in one more variable there, because I get made fun of all the time for being the worst millennial. Because truth be told, in the pork tenderloin example, if I go to a Google page that gives me 100 ads and I have to watch a video and it's looking crazy, my next move is to go to a book that I own. Like, it's not inherently natural for me to solicit ChatGPT. Now, that's me living in my bubble. I have been on calls now with dealers where they say they're going to more homes and homeowners, are kind of coming in as like a small town expert on what is going on with their system based on a conversation they had with ChatGPT. So I put on my skepticism hat just to say that I think both exist, right? So I'm talking with Stephen, my territory manager. I'm not really bought into the whole idea of this anyway. What do we do?
Well, for starters, we're talking just marketing for this first section of the question.
Fair.
So I think Stephen, as the territory manager, it would be reasonable for you to ask Mary to invite a look at 2024's marketing expenses with line items. So what did the money go out to last year? Was there the barbecue sponsorship in September? Was there a direct mail campaign? Was there paid advertising on Google? Did you try SEO? Did you pay for review generation? Like, what are all the different both subscriptions and one-time expenditures that you invested in for your marketing? Let's put that on the table, on the whiteboard, and identify that over the course of the year, you spent $120,000, okay? And you spent for our nice math today, you spent $10,000 a month on marketing, period. Out of that, are there any for sure's that you can prove pulled in profit? Follow the money. So if you did the barbecue and you landed a commercial or light commercial, or you landed let's say a general contractor who's building homes, and you landed something, you may be able to prove the ROI off of it, or you can directly put beside it that Jesse James Contracting came from that barbecue initiative. Let's hang on to that one. Okay. So fine. The direct mail campaigns, what you might want to do is look at what zip codes did you target, and did your zip code density improve in those markets year over year? Okay. And then identify, okay, those zip codes that it worked, that was $500 in quarterly, that's $2,000 for the year, and those zip codes we keep. But let's go remove those other zip codes. So in that specific one, direct mail stays, but only a segment of direct mail stays, because you can prove your attribution. All of this gets you to what can we cut, what are we keeping, and then what do we do next? One of the things to really take a look at is the SEO. So this concept of monthly optimization of your website, and that you will be found because you're the local expert, or because you have a new promotion on your website, okay, or a blog or whatever. In 2024, that was limited. In 2025, with AI and AI overviews, that is way down the page. So if you're spending $250 a month or $500 a month on optimizing for SEO, or even optimizing for AI, because what the marketing company will now say is, we got you that same $500 that you're spending on SEO, we've now moved it so you're optimized for AI overviews. Okay. This is the smoke and mirrors that make marketing companies have a bad reputation. You take that SEO money and you say, what if I didn't spend anything on SEO? Your website is hosted, which is a different line item, usually $100 a month, just to keep it easy, and your website's available. So when someone searches Stephen Ross AC, they see your company website, it's listed properly. But ranking your company website, not very important. I would remove that money. What I would, though, and nothing to do with SearchKings, is I would make sure that your listings are all organized properly, so that your BBB, your Nextdoor, your Facebook, all of the different directories that ChatGPT looks at, Home Advisor, Angie, if not paid, but free, you get your listings to all line up with address, name, and either phone number, or as long as you have name and address. Because when you go to ChatGPT and you say, give me the best HVAC companies, and then you say, where did you pull the ranking from? It's changing every month. But what we do see consistently is listings are relevant. And SearchKings isn't a listings management company. You can, there's companies that can do it for you. It's really a set it and make sure it's correct. It's a one-time. There's companies like Yext where you can change, but you're not moving. So like, you don't really need to manage it so often. But once you have those listings, each listings often has a review link. So different this year than last year. I would never have said this last year. This year, I would say, now that you have your BBB listing correct, try to get a BBB review this month. Try to get one Angie's review. And you don't need a lot. 80, 90% of your reviews should still be on Google. But this year, different than last year, I would say make sure all your listings are set up properly and make sure that they each have one recent review in the last couple months. Because AI overviews are looking at listings when they don't look at Google as the single source of truth. They start to look, and if you have 2 reviews on your yellow pages, that's better than 0, and it might actually lead to you being ranked. It doesn't cost you anything to get reviews besides good work and save money on the SEO. That's one of the easiest low-cost things to do.
Can I jump in there for a second? So, Lorne, you guys gave me this advice a few years ago, which is Google reviews are king. Now, I mean, everybody knows that, but here's the practical application of that. So every interaction we had with a customer, service technician, customer service rep on the phone, sales rep in the home, we would ask for the review. We didn't automate it because we didn't get such great responses from automation. We felt like it really took the employee making a personal ask to get it done. And so when we first started, I think when I first signed up with SearchKings, we had maybe 50 or 60 Google reviews, and that was 2017 or so. And our goal was to get 5 a week. So 5 a week, 50 weeks out of the year. And then the company grew, and then we stretched our goal to 10 a week and so on. And so by, 2024, I would say we had almost 3,500 reviews, to the point where other heating air contractors would be like, where are you buying those reviews from? And I'm like, we're not. We have earned them the old fashioned way, and we've been doing it for 7 or 8 years. And what was interesting was when I would do my monthly review with my SearchKings rep, we would look at the ROI on the marketing dollars we would spend, and we were outperforming the industry. You guys would say, hey, you're spending X amount of dollars. The industry is typically spending a little bit more. And I would say, why are we outperforming? And the rep would go, because your Google reviews are so good. And so that was amazing to me. I mean, if you think about that from a real dollars and cents standpoint, I mean, if you're going to spend, I don't know what we were spending, $8,000 a month on SEM. So we're spending $100,000 a year, right? I mean, the difference there is plus or minus about 20% in the effectiveness of your marketing spend if you're getting those regular Google reviews. So anyway, I appreciated that tip from you years ago because it really impacted our ability to grow. If you could get 20% further down the road with your marketing money, it's phenomenal. It's a huge difference, right?
Absolutely. And we also know lots of companies are thinking about an exit strategy at some point. The Patrick Lang mantra, who's an HVAC broker expert, taught us, said people look at your Google reviews almost before they look at your P&L. And what they're looking for in your Google reviews are the names of technicians. And the variety of technicians means that the purchaser may be buying a company with happy staff, not buying a job. And so a robust increase in Google reviews is huge. But this year, I would say, instead of 100% of reviews going to Google, go put 15% of those reviews across all the other platforms, so they each have 1 a month. That would in my books, you'd be in good shape.
Yep. Mary, are you a Yelper? I mean, you just said like to cook a pork tenderloin, you're going to go find a book. So I don't know if you know this, but there's apps on your phone like Yelp where you can go leave reviews and look stuff up. Like, are you a Yelper, Mary?
Okay, yes, I have apps. I have a smartphone, and I actually am a Yelp Elite reviewer. Thank you very much. But yeah, I am. I'm familiar with Yelp, and I think that's I think what's interesting about the Chat GPT or really any GPT kind of innovation is like I'm conditioned to go to Yelp because I trust Yelp and I have bought into the Yelp platform, like all the things. And so I am not conditioned to go to the broader search necessarily. But it's interesting, Lauren, to hear you talk about making sure all of your listings across all of these areas are consistent because I have done that where I'm looking for something near me, maybe something related to home services. And you do see all of those listings pop up. And it does, as a consumer, when I'm sitting in that seat, kind of make my red flag raise when I see like BBB doesn't match this, or they've got a location here, but I live on this side of the state. So do they call on my area, or is Google just giving me a bad result? Like, so just to hear the consistency across all of the different listing platforms, I mean, that feels like a really kind of like a bold pro take that you could take right away and implement tomorrow.
Yeah, you think last year Google had, let's say, 9 out of every 10 searches, and Google would decide what was ranking at the top. Well, then you only needed your Google listing really to be accurate. Well, now if you go on to ChatGPT, they're looking elsewhere. So once your directory listings are aligned and you're getting a review here and there to them, getting the majority of your reviews to Google, I would say you're probably still haven't spent almost any money that you had spent before on SEO, and the conversation between the TM and the dealer, Mary, gets to, okay, what else should we do with AI, right? What is the AI strategic move? And so I'll give you the next thing I think that's worth considering. And streaming TV is a really good example of this. So streaming TV has been around forever, but
Okay,
now
this as a bad millennial, I do. We have cut
You got your shows.
the cable cord and we do the YouTube TV subscription. It's amazing. I love the NFL package that they tie in. Like, so I'm on board. You got me here.
Okay, so now let's think about streaming TV from the contractor point of view. The heating and air contractor, they typically have not been part of streaming TV for a couple of reasons. With the advent or the introduction of AI, what can now happen is targeting by zip codes, okay, and granular targeting of customers is easier than ever. So instead of showing that commercial to all of the city or 20 zip codes and a population of 800,000, you can get far more granular and get that down to a target area. However, in the past, you'd have to have a $10,000 professional commercial filmed at your site that would essentially expire almost as soon as you finish production of it, right? With new promotions and new value adds and how many Google reviews you have and what makes you unique runs out fairly quickly. With AI, and especially with Google's AI, the ability to make professional level or commercial ready video is now in existence. So if you, on that budget for last 2024, Mary, as the contractor, had production of videos or commercials or radios or billboards, I would be thinking about shifting those dollars to an AI generated commercial that changes every other month or every quarter based on the season and the unique value prop that you want to have, and produce those commercials at a very, very low cost. We're talking about a few $100s to produce a professional commercial that you could run in a local 3 zip codes. And now, instead of saying we serve Charlotte, North Carolina, it's Locust, North Carolina, right? This neighborhood, this town, and you have a different version of that commercial on the other side of town, potentially. That is an extremely efficient use of AI that could bring down your marketing costs, but make you the local provider. Now, we know people are looking at the connected TV, sure, they're also scrolling through their phone. So they may only hear the name of your company as they're busy being a multitasker, but you're in their head. And so now when they go to search, because they actually have a problem, and they see your company come up, you have a better chance of earning that call. So the connected TV helped at the top of the funnel with brand recognition. And now when someone actually Googles you, you show up. This is significantly less of an investment than in years past, where the whole thing was tens of thousands of dollars. Because if you're going to do a commercial, well, now you may as well do a year contract, because what is the point of the $10,000 commercial if you're not going to amortize it over the 12 months? Now, a commercial can be done cheaply and you pivot every couple months. That's another example.
Here's the other thing. Here's why I think that's really important is, I managed sales for a heating and air mechanical contractor a few years ago. We were doing $35 to $40 million a year in revenue. We had a big marketing budget. I had a media buyer. I had, account reps from the TV stations and so on. And so we would carve out a pretty substantial, we were spending about $150,000 a year on TV commercials, and we would carve out another $20,000, $25,000 to produce those commercials. And so when I would work with smaller contractors, I would say to them, ignore TV and almost ignore radio until you get to be 10, 15 million in revenue, because you're not going to do it well. And if you don't do it well, you might as well just light that money on fire and watch it go, because that'll be way more entertaining. And so I think that the revolution there, or the evolution there, is that now, back to the example we had before, let's say Mary's a $6 million heating and air company. She can now afford to do commercials and get them on that streaming video. And that is huge, in my opinion.
And correct me if I'm wrong with streaming, but I'm not tied to necessarily like a time slot.
Correct. So what with streaming, you're following the user. Mm-hmm. So the user is age and location primarily, and demographic, homeowner, single family dwelling. And so whether you're watching news or sports or drama, it doesn't matter. The commercial is following you, not that we're buying a slot at 7 p.m. on the Weather Network. Okay.
So when Steven's watching his Bravo shows, he can still see my heating and air company ad.
Cooking shows specifically. Trying to learn how to cook a pork tenderloin.
Come on, you're a Real Housewives kind of guy. I just know it.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it puts the little guy. Now think about a budget. If you were talking $125,000, I'm thinking about $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And being very targeted on specific zip codes and watching to see if the phone rings more in those zip codes, right? Or are you getting more traffic? And with technology, we can now track, okay, they saw a commercial and they visited your website. We know these two events both happened. That's a success, right? And I can just say this, the old way of buying this type of media has been disrupted. You don't need 2, 3, 4 middlemen to buy connected TV.
Yeah.
This and that was one of the reasons we entered the space. So and learned a lot about it and saw opportunity in it for our customers. Is it's affordable.
Yeah.
And Google is more expensive than it was 2 years ago. So
if you think about, the two terms that I learned in a marketing class back in the 90s, again, I'm old. It comes down to frequency and reach, right? How many people are you going to reach with your ad, and how often they're going to see your ad? And the problem with TV is that your marketing area that you're getting charged for, at least where I am, it could be several 100,000 people, it could be millions of people. So you're getting charged to reach all of those people. And then the problem with that is if you don't have a massive budget, you can't reach them frequently enough that where they remember you. And so the other magic here with streaming is doing what you're saying, which is let's shrink that reach down to a few zip codes. Now we're not paying for people, an hour and a half away to see our TV ads, even though they watch our local TV station. You shrink that down. Now you can afford the frequency. We've shrunk our reach, and now they can see those ads 7 to 10 times in a week. and it starts to get in their brain, and it sticks, and then they have a problem and they call. So that, I mean, it's the same old. It's frequency and reach. It's just a new way to kind of slice that up, which makes it a little bit more affordable for a smaller contractor to really nail it.
The other piece I'll add there is when you're buying traditionally, you're buying one slot at 6 p.m., one slot at 9 p.m., and 7 slots in the middle of the night. Whereas now I don't care if the homeowner is watching at 3 a.m. or at 7 p.m. If they're a qualified audience for me, I want to show them the ad.
Yeah. I mean, old way, whether anybody's watching it or not, you're getting charged for it being on the TV station. New way is if somebody's up at 3 a.m. and they're watching, you might want to advertise to them for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, I got I know we got to wrap up soon. I've got a horror story. Can I share a horror story?
Intriguing.
Yeah. So one of the coolest parts about what I've done the last few years is I get to travel around the country, talk to heating and air contractors. I hear some cool stories about how they've grown their business. And then every now and then I hear horror stories about what not to do. And had a heating and air company that hired me to do some consulting a few years ago. And one of my recommendations to them was SearchKings. And they turned me down on everything marketing related. They turned me like, no, we just want sales training. Don't look at the marketing budget. Just look at sales training. I'm like, well, those two things are kind of related, right? I mean, it's like, how many leads are we getting? How many appointments are the salespeople getting? What's our closing ratio? What's our average ticket? Like, we want to track that by where the lead came from. I mean, if you're going to grow sales, like, I need the data to help coach the salespeople, right? And I was told, keep my nose out of their business. Well, went back about a year later, they're continuing to struggle. And one of the things that happened was they said, we've got a local marketing agency and we're just going to use them. They know our local market better. Okay. Well, they were getting invoices for dollar amounts. And on the invoice, it would say Google, right? Hey, here's what we spent on Google this month. And I said, well, from SearchKings, I mean, I get the Google receipt. Like, you guys are sending me, I mean, I'm paying you guys to manage it, but like, you're sending me a receipt from Google, not just an invoice, right? Like, where are they spending the money with Google? And so they went back to try to get the receipts. The company wouldn't give them the receipts. The company was not actually spending the money with Google. They were just keeping it. And that ended up in a lawsuit, right? So think about it. You had a heating and air company doing roughly $5-6 million a year, spending $7,000-8,000 a month that went nowhere. I mean, the opportunity cost, the hit to the value of the business, like where that business could have gone, even if they recouped the money, they will never get the opportunity back that they could have had that money go to the right place. So I do pitch the relationship that you guys have with Trane Technologies, whether it's Trane or American Standard branded equipment, that relationship is solid. And so that's one of the things that I think sometimes, I mean, there are great little local agencies out there, no doubt about it. But like, is there any accountability? And do you as the dealer know the right questions to ask? And are you going to be able to hold them accountable? Or are you just writing the check and going, well, hope it works? And so tough kind of outcome for that contractor. But anyway, there's your horror story.
Yeah, so, I'll tell you that what I would want every contractor to at least ask. And we're like any other company. We don't want to work with someone who's already working with someone that they're happy with. That's not a relationship we want to take over. We're only looking to work with someone who needs to change what's happening. And so either way, the questions are about advertising spend and management fee as two separate line items, no matter who you work with. How much are you putting into the platform and how much are you charging me for that work has to be distinguished, number one. Number two, attribution. Calls need to be recorded that come from ad spend. If you're putting $1,000 in, you should be able to listen to the 10 calls that came and understand that 10 calls came from the $1,000. That call you're listening to is $100. Are those $100 calls from new customers or existing customers? And so what's changed at SearchKings since AI is our call intelligence analyzes every single call coming in for, is it new? because it needs to be, because we're not bidding on the company. That's a free lead. Did it represent a book job? Was it outside the area? Was it someone looking for employment? Was it a solicitor?
Yeah.
And when you take the 10 calls and you break them down, you get to how many legitimate revenue opportunities for the $1,000. Every marketing company needs to be able to answer the question of, show me how you vetted the 10 leads to show me revenue opportunity leads compared to wasted leads. And there's the cost of doing business. There are bad leads. But if only 1 out of every 10 leads is good, you're paying $1,000 per good lead.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable. So that would be my advice to every territory manager and dealers. Make sure you know how much you're spending on the advertising compared to the management, and then how many of the leads are legitimate revenue opportunities, not even sold. I want to go deeper. I want to go to revenue opportunities, because then we can help your call center learn that you had 4 pricing objections. Okay, so maybe your dispatch fee is out of whack, or you had availability objections. Maybe the CSR isn't managing the call board based on revenue opportunity of the phone call, or it's out of area. We're targeting the wrong zip codes. We had a customer who shall remain nameless. They wanted to add plumbing to their advertising. This happened yesterday. And the CSR wasn't ready for plumbing calls. So we're spending $100 a call. Now a plumbing call comes in instead of a heating call or an AC call. And the agent said, no, we don't offer that service. I'm sorry. Well, thankfully, our system triggered a job not served alert. Wait a minute, we're advertising for something that you just said you don't do. Trigger alert, speak to the owner to say, okay, should we pause the plumbing until your team is ready? But the last thing we can do is blindly spend money.
Yeah. Mary, if I'm a dealer and I say, hey, today's episode sounded great, I probably need some SearchKings in my life. What do I do next?
I think the best thing we could recommend would be to talk to your account manager or your territory manager to see how you could get more plugged in here with SearchKings and, just more intentional marketing efforts. And then we're always happy to take your information and get to the right people. If you shoot us an email at HVAC_full_blast@traintechnologies.com. We're always curious to sort of hear what's going on, or maybe even get another story out of it. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Hey, Lorne, thanks for coming today.
No problem. I think next time we'll chat, we'll talk about how AI is integrated into businesses beyond marketing, because we're hearing and working on a lot of interesting projects to make companies more efficient. Next time.
I like a stay tuned. That sounds good. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to HVAC Full Blast.